Another day goes by, another day Auburn gets closer to landing more solid recruit.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are joined by Locked On Recruiting Insider, as well as Auburn Daily Recruiting writer, Brian Smith. And of course, our recruiting coverage throughout the Locked On Podcast Network is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Brian, we'll talk about a potential reclassification coming, as well as a potential flip this weekend and where Auburn stands with Jared Smith. But first thing, Tyler Lockhart appears to be close when it comes to getting him back in the 2025 class.
That's a really good linebacker. When he decommitted, I was like, man, that one stings.
Yeah, sure.
Not only is he a good player, but he's a Mississippi kid. You're trying to break into that realm a little bit. And he's a versatile player that can do different things. So I was talking with Bryce Deese with some messaging, like he's going to play linebacker. If you put Deese next to Lockhart, two kids that are really long and athletic and change directions well, that's just a great 1-2 punch to play in the SEC. So
when you talk to Bryce, I mean, is he being is he being recruited to play linebacker? I know, okay.
Correct. That's what I asked him, because I was like, where are you going to play at?
Yeah, it's a legit question because he can do a lot of different things. Yeah. He's an interesting defender. So yeah, so he's expected to be at linebacker. That's good to know. But yeah, I mean, Lockhart, I think there's two aspects to this that are both really good for Auburn. One is the player. Obviously, Tyler Lockhart is a good player. There's no really argument to that. Consensus 4-star, top 10 player in the state of Mississippi. But also, I mean, this is a guy who's just a magnet to the football. He does a good job of engaging with blockers and getting off of them, as well as just kind of knowing where the football is. Yeah, just natural instincts that you want out of a linebacker. Name's also Tyler Lockhart, which sounds like a Mike linebacker to me. Let's just not kid ourselves. It sounds like a Mike linebacker. The other aspect of this is Lockhart, if he does commit to Auburn, which many people are predicting that to happen soon, he would be the third member of the 2025 class to leave, be committed, leave, and then come back. He would join Hollis Davidson, the tight end.
True. And
then Antonio Coleman, who's, flipped back and forth between Auburn and Alabama. He's obviously back in Auburn's class now. And to me, I just think that says something about the staff that we say over and over and over again, but now there's proof of concept of it being true. It's like they don't care if you're committed. They don't care if you're committed, then decommit, or if you're committed elsewhere. They're going to pursue you day in and day out, and Auburn's always got a shot.
If you don't do that, you don't win.
Yeah.
Today's recruiting doesn't really stop. You have to find a way to make these kids comfortable, even when they're down on you for whatever reason, or another school makes a great opportunity for themselves and gets them to at least decommit. You got to be steadfast. It's not easy. College coaches probably get tired of it, but the lifeblood of your program is recruiting, and the teams that win big are the ones that recruit well. So you got to find a way to do it.
Is there anything when it comes to like holding off Mississippi State? In fact, when he decommitted, a lot of like crystal balls and predictions went towards Mississippi State, home school, or the home state team for Lockhart. There's some energy around that program, not a ton, but they got a new coach. There's some excitement about Jeff Lebby and all that. Probably the second worst team in the conference during the season. If I had to guess, I'd probably put them only above Vanderbilt. But it's still an SEC program, and like you held them off, assuming Lockhart does pick Auburn. How much value do you put in that?
Well, I think that it's important that he didn't just, you know what, to heck with it, I'm just going to stay in state. A lot of kids in Mississippi do that. So Auburn has won the first part of that battle. Yeah. The second is obviously getting him to recommit, and the third is for him not to take visits. I'm not confident in the third in today's era, but that's still your objective. If he's not taking visits elsewhere, he's not going to go anywhere else. But Auburn is in the best spot right now from everything we've heard. We've been hearing about Lockhart for a little bit. And again, to your original point, consistency with recruiting. They wouldn't be sitting here. He'd be committed to Mississippi State or Ole Miss if it wasn't for Auburn's staff being consistent.
Right.
That's the bottom line. I know that's kind of a boring answer, but it's a really important one.
I know you've scouted Lockhart before. Did you get a chance to talk to him a ton when you did that, or did you just get to watch him?
I just watched him for the most part. I chatted briefly just about size and everything. He's a little over 200 pounds, but
sure.
He was at the Under Armour camp and he slipped away before I got to interview him. Nice kid, but just runs like a deer. Like he stands out. It's even at the Under Armour camp, which is an invite only national camp. He was one of the guys.
Yeah. 6'1", just north of 200 pounds. And I mean, he's all of that. And he moves very, very well. I mean, with his frame and the type of linebacker I'm expecting him to play, they'll want him a little heavier. Don't you think?
He'll play at 220.
Yeah.
Give or take. You don't have to have guys bigger than that now because they got to cover more than you do anything else.
You want him to move laterally. Sure.
So I think he's going to be a will, and I think he's a guy that fits the role very well. I mean, this is what you're looking for in an SEC linebacker. The length is not 6'1", though. I think he's a little bit longer than his height.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which is good. Yeah. And also the way he moves is more like a safety.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. So is Tyler Lockhart next? He certainly could be. If I had to guess, Brian, I think Tyler Lockhart is the next member of Auburn's 2025 class. You think that's crazy?
No, I do not. I mean, that's the scuttlebutt. And when you hear from multiple arenas, there's probably a reason for it.
And he also just kind of committed without like talking to many people last time.
That was wild. Like, oh, Tyler Lockhart committed.
He did it at like late at night. I remember I was in bed and I'm like,
wasn't it like 11 o'clock or something?
Yeah,
like
it's like, I'm going to talk about this on tomorrow's show, I guess, not today because I'm going to sleep. But yeah, so kind of wonder if he'll do that again. Who knows? But yeah, Tyler Lockhart, we are both predicting he's the next member of Auburn's 2025 class. Is Auburn the favorite to land 2 studs this weekend? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. It's a free app. Go ahead and search Game Time on your phone's app store, whether it's the Google Play Store or the App Store, and download it. And when you're getting set up, use promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. And they've got everything from tickets to games, tickets to concerts, tickets to comedy, tickets to the theater, whatever it might be. Game Time has you covered. They've got flash deals where you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. And they also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So if you can find the same ticket that's in the same section and row somewhere else for cheaper, they will give you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Brian, when you look at Auburn recruiting right now, obviously red hot, they've set themselves up nicely for Jared Smith. One of the top players in the state, regardless of where you look, a very solid edge defender at the next level, projects to be at the next level. He's announcing this weekend. Auburn's the favorite. What say you?
Everything I've been told is he's going to Auburn. And this is multiple sources outside of Auburn. So that's a very good sign. Maybe that doesn't transpire. Maybe he has a change of heart.
Yeah.
But right now, the Tigers are the odds-on favorite.
Yeah, he's a 4-star everywhere except for 247. 247 has him as a 5-star. But multiple places have him as the number 2 player in the state of Alabama, which Auburn has clearly made a priority. I mean, they are eating.
Yes.
They are eating in the state of Alabama, especially in that top 10 to 15 range right now for Jared Smith. So, I mean, what does this say about the defensive class that Auburn's putting together if they do add Jared Smith? I mean, especially, with these defensive backs that are coming into play, the defensive line that's coming into play. Jared Smith is just kind of an exclamation point to an already loaded defensive class.
Two things. Number one, I think it's probably overall top 5 nationally. And second, it's balanced. Remember a few years ago when A&M had that great class in 22, it was so top heavy with defensive players, and they got Evan Stewart in that class for it, just transferred to Oregon, but it wasn't balanced. And that's the key. Auburn's defense is going to have a guy for like each spot. That is incredibly rare. And they're also going to have guys that fit what you want to do in terms of multiple positions. Guy like we were just talking about, Lockhart could play the overhang position and be the quasi linebacker safety guy if you wanted to be, but so could Eric Winters. They have guys that can move around and do different things. That will help them tremendously in actually applying the talent and winning football games. This is a great defensive group.
You and I saw Jared Smith Saturday. He was hanging out with a few other players, and he's listed at 6'6", 235, and like he just looks longer than 6'6" to me.
His arm length is substantial.
Like he can tie his shoes without having to like lean over.
I mean, yeah, he's
insane.
He's got size 18s, by the way. Legitimately has size 18 shoes too. That kid's going to be 270 in a couple years. I don't know exactly how they're going to use him positionally, but I know I've talked to college coaches, like we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
like
he gains the weight, cool. Whatever, we'll put him at end. Whatever, it's fine.
Exactly. So
I mean, just with those long arms, I mean, that is just a nightmare situation for offensive tackles. And for those who don't know, like why long arms are important. I mean, obviously, when you talk about like linebackers and with defensive backs, it's you've got a better chance of batting the football down. But when it comes to pass rushers, you want separation. And so if you've got those long arms and you can extend out, the offensive lineman, they can't grab you. And if they can't grab you as easy, they can't block you. And so when you hear us talk about like arm length and just overall length with these edge rushers, Brian, that's why it's so important.
You don't want them getting to your chest. You want to be able to hold them off, and then you can just bend the corner, or make an inside move. It sets up so many things. That's just God-given. And Jared, believe me, that is about as long a D end as you're going to find.
Yeah, he's using it. So when you look at Jared Smith's tape, because I know you've watched a ton of it, is he like the complete end, or is he more of a pass rusher? Is he more of a guy who can help with containment in the run game? Can he do both? Well, I mean, Jared Smith, the player, what do you see from him at the next level?
I was surprised how athletic he was laterally when I saw him at Under Armour, and that's going against light competition. In high school, there aren't many offensive linemen that can handle him. But he can move and get across somebody's face. He can go one-arm stab. He can do two-hand swipe and all those things. But he's got pretty good bend for a long guy. Yeah. That was surprising. And he's pretty strong. Like, he's nowhere near where he's going to be, but he's already naturally strong, kind of wiry. I think the upside's the moon. It's just up to Jared.
Yeah.
He still has to, he'll need a year to adjust to college, like most linemen, and that's fine. But his sophomore year, wherever he goes, that's a kid that should be in the 2 deep pretty much. If he went to Georgia, he went to Texas, doesn't matter. Can't teach the traits. If it's up to him and he conquers what he needs to in the weight room and everything, learns the playbook, that's a guy that should get drafted.
Yeah, he's got the build. I mean, he has the build that the NFL teams like do anything for. They give up future draft picks for. So we'll see. But yeah, Jared Smith, the Thompson edge, which Thompson is important. That component is a whole different animal. But obviously, Jared Smith is going to be a huge part of this class if he picks the Tigers this weekend. Another guy where you're hearing a lot of buzz, we don't know exactly when it could happen, but it sounds like Sam Turner, the wide receiver commit for Georgia Tech, who was here this past weekend. Sounds like Auburn is now the favorite to land this Georgia Tech commit, potential flip, whether it's this weekend or the next couple days, who knows, but Sam Turner is expected to be an Auburn Tiger at some point.
That kid can fly. I really like his film. He's a deep threat. He's a little over 6 foot, plays in a great area just outside of Atlanta, and plays at a tradition-rich program. I was a little surprised. He was ranked like a 3-star by some people. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. The only place that has him better than a 3-star is Rivals. Rivals has him as the 35th player in Georgia as a 4-star.
He's good, man. And, he's in the Sandy Creek area. That's a good program. But bottom line, the film doesn't lie. And he's running by kids in the Atlanta area. Every time I'll sign off on that.
Yeah, if you can get open and create space as a receiver and look fast compared to the guys you're going up against, and when you're playing Atlanta competition, it's like, don't care where you're rated. I want that.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have to overcomplicate it, Zach. It's pretty simple. And
So he goes to Southwest DeKalb.
DeKalb, yeah.
DeKalb. Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a program that's had kids as long as I've
Sure.
played football. So
Yeah. Gotcha.
that's just one of those. It's an East Side program. They've always had players. That's not going to change. And Georgia, Auburn, everybody's always recruited it.
What's
I'm curious if he visits anywhere else, by the way. This would be interesting.
Sure. Yeah. So Derek Smith flips from Bama to Auburn. We assume he's going to play receiver. I mean, he could do many things, but we assume he's going to be a receiver at Auburn. You get Sam Turner. Do you think they would have been interested in Sam Turner if things hadn't have gone awry like they did with Caleb Cunningham earlier in the month, or I guess last month at this point?
That's a good question because it's still numbers. You got 4 last year, but you're going to lose a couple more guys pretty quick here. You're going to be young. You're going to need to take a portal guy after this year just for more experience on the roster, but they need 3 in this class at least. Caleb Cunningham you take if you've got 5.
Sure. There's always room for him. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, I think Sam Turner's a player. I kind of made the joke. I think it was to you last week where I'm like, I don't know who this is. And then I started watching tape on him. It's like, I love this kid.
Yeah.
I really want to be part of the class.
I'm like, he's a 3-star. I texted one of my buddies and he's a big fan of him too. And I'm like, okay, whatever they think, but I like the film. So
yeah, I do too. So, all right. Yeah. Sam Turner is going to be, I think he's going to be a player at the next level. So we'll see if he's doing it at Auburn or somewhere else, but everybody's picking him to go to Auburn and we're hearing similar things. Could one of the best players in the 2026 class reclassify? And what does that mean for Auburn? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is a formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. Look, we talk about it all the time. Can you imagine buying a part for your car, truck, or SUV anywhere other than eBay Motors? The answer to that is no. No, I can't imagine it. In fact, it makes me mad to think about it for folks just wasting their time and wasting their money going to do this in person. eBay Motors, they've got over 122 million parts for your car. They're going to have it. They're going to have it. You just go into your account on eBay Motors, you add the type of car that you have, the make and model, and then everything you need, it's right there. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Brian, when you look at Zealous Hicks, the safety out of Carrollton, 4-star across the board in the 2026 class. He kind of joked about it at Big Cat to some reporters that, he's given a hard time to some of the coaching staff about possibly reclassifying. There's been some buzz about that. Regardless of if he's a 2025 or 2026 commit, it sounds like Auburn is the clear leader here for Hicks. So 1, give us your thoughts on Hicks, the player, and then 2, what it means if he does reclassify to this 2025 class.
This is one of the few kids that I could see doing it and at least having some contribution early in his career. Kids that reclass, it's hard.
Yeah.
But he's a DB. He could play receiver or something too, but very physical kid, plays at Carrollton, same school as Juju Lewis. They got a bunch of guys. He's used to being in the limelight, and he's a kid, quite frankly, that is not afraid to take on anybody. I think he will play safety. Maybe he outgrows it. And again, he's got technically 2 years of high school left. But at worst, he's going to be a bigger nickel. But I think he's going to be a safety for the Tigers. This is going to be, if they get him, this is just an epic DB class. And again, if they technically wanted to, they could put Smith at DB too, but we think he's going to play receiver.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to have DB, but like Auburn is killing it. I mean, they are just killing it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. From a ranking standpoint, if he reclassifies from 26 to 2025, like he's the On3 industry rankings that combines everything have him as the 24th player in the country in the 2026 class. Where is he in the 2025 class if you had to guess if he does reclassify? Because, I mean, it'll be down because he's a year younger than everybody else. But is he still a top 100 player in the 25 class?
I think about the highest it'd be number 80, but it's somewhere between 80 and 150. You get in there, it gets really hard.
Yeah.
It's because you're talking about a kid maturity, the year younger, weightlifting. It's a lot of ways to look at that. It's not very long we've been seeing this, so that'll be all over the map.
Yeah, no question. No question. All right, so just to pivot away from recruiting to what's going to happen on the field later today. It's funny. It's the start of fall camp, and we can't stop talking about recruiting. But you and I, along with other Auburn media members, will get a few minutes of to see kind of the newest version of the Auburn football team, and obviously excited to see Perry Thompson running around with Auburn gear on with pads. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about, is to kind of get a little bit of footage of Perry Thompson and see what he looks like in a college practice. What are some things you're looking forward to seeing in these few minutes that we're going to get to see later today?
I always start with linemen. I'm curious about the young D linemen still.
Yeah.
Do they still look like their heads are swimming with everything they're teaching them or not? And then, of course, it's the same question everybody has. Can we throw the football?
Mm-hmm.
I need to, and I don't know what we're going to see. It'll probably just be Skelly or something, but
yeah, if we even see that, it'll be warm-up drills for sure. Just kind of, routes against air and all that. But yeah, and like, what's the pecking order, right? Like, do they thrust Keandre Lambert-Smith into the rotation quickly? Like, I think they're going to have to. Like, I think they will.
They need experience that's got some playmaking skills. So I agree.
Yeah, they need him, or the offense doesn't work as much. Like, he's a big part of it. Even if he doesn't produce statistically, you need him on the field for different reasons. So, yeah, like, you want to see him and Cam Coleman, and how much does Perry Thompson rotate into that top cycle, that top with the starters. And so I'm excited to see that rotation for sure. The quarterback, I mean, it's kind of nice how there's like no drama whatsoever. I mean, I guess there's a battle for like backup quarterback. Like, is it going to be Hank or is it going to be Holden? I think it's going to be Hank when it's all said and done. But to me, like, there's not a whole lot of drama. It's just, okay, what's the rotation look like at all of these spots?
The quarterback thing is interesting. Who they play at nickel, spots like that, hybrid spots where if you're nickel dime, if they're going to show us any of that, I doubt it. But I mean, I think for the most part, we kind of know who's starting. Now, like you said, it's just a couple of backup spots and who plays where for the freshmen. That's fun stuff. Which guys in the offensive line, do they play right guard, left guard, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Now, this is why football is fun, man. It is a year-long process, and right now it's really heating up. Yep.
No question about it. Yeah, very excited. And so we'll have reactions to practice and all that. Of course, be sure to check that out. So go ahead and subscribe, whether you're listening on audio or video. We'll throw that up later today. It's interesting because there's not a whole lot of starting battles happening right now anywhere. Sure. Like the starting 22, I feel pretty good about predicting. It's what's the market share of snaps at these certain spots, like
running back or something like. There's a lot.
Yeah, or like, is Antonio Kite as the third corner going to get more snaps than we think he's going to? Or running back. Like, I guess there's a battle of who's going to get more touches between Damari Austin and Jeremiah Cobb. We think, who's going to be that number 2 guy after Jarquez. And then, we touched on the receivers, but then like defensive line, like can guys like freshmen like Malik Blockton or TJ Lindsey, can they do enough to crack the rotation playing behind all of these defensive linemen who've been playing college football for 5 years? Like that to me is going to be the interesting stuff. And I don't think we'll get to see a whole lot of it with our eyes. We're just going to have to talk to people who do get to see it.
And that's typical of college football, but yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I get they're being kind of secretive, especially with some of the new guys and everything. But top of my head, I don't remember the last time Auburn was this solidified in terms of starters across the board. I forget a quarterback. That's always an interesting topic. But just in general, it's pretty ironclad. I mean, at least 18, 19 guys conservatively, you're like, oh, he's definitely starting. There might be a couple of battles, but I mean,
I don't know what they are, though. I mean, the offensive line is
something, but 22.
Yeah,
that seems crazy, but like,
there might be some technical battles with safety, but like, I think your 3 interior defensive backs, like I think Champ Anthony's your nickel. It's at least starting, and I think your other safeties are Jaron Thompson and Sylvester Smith. And then, like, I think you're going to have guys who rotate in and out, but like I think those are your starters. Your corners are Keontae and I'm blanking on his name. Kane Lee. I love Kane Lee. I'm so sorry, Kane. Kane Lee are your corners. I think your linebackers, if you have two, I think it's going to be Eugene Asante and Austin Keys. Like, I don't think that's a crazy take at all. And your defensive front, Keldrick. I guess there are battles at the 3 technique and nose guard. You'll have a battle between Jason Jones and Isaiah Rakes, and you'll have a battle between like Gage Keys and Philip Bleedy, maybe for the 3 technique. So
that's fair.
They're your battles. That's probably the best battle when it comes to starting. But I still think regardless of who wins, the snap counts are going to be within like 20% of each other.
Auburn's defense changed a lot with the transfer portal, getting the kids out of the D-tackle ranks. They needed that because it was a little unclear, as we like to say. So they did well, especially like Rakes. He's a unique body type. They could play 3-man line with him like they did at A&M. Like that's a big dude. So yeah. Auburn has a lot of options.
Yeah, no question. No question. Brian, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
auburndaily.com and at FBScout_Florida on X.
Yes. And please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll have more from fall camp later today. I'm Zac Blackerby. You can read all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.